All right, good afternoon. Today's webinar, presented by Michigan Historic Preservation, is Celebrating and Preserving Hispanic Latino Heritage in Southwest Detroit. My name is Chris Fraley. I am the Executive Director of the Michigan Historic Preservation Network. Slide, please. Today, you'll be able to ask questions in the Q&A box as you think of them. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. If you're having technical difficulties, please put those questions in the Q&A box as well. The Q&A box should be located at the bottom of your screen. If the bar goes away, hover your mouse over the screen. The chat window will contain links to resources as discussed. There may be polls that pop up during the webinar. Please take a moment to participate. Thank you and enjoy the webinar. And also please participate in the survey after the webinar concludes. Today's webinar is being put on by the Michigan Historic Preservation Network, and our mission at the Michigan Historic Preservation Network is to advocate for Michigan's historic places, to contribute to our economic vitality, our sense of place, and our connection to the past. We could not do the work we do without our members and volunteers. Please join us at mhpn.org. This webinar is supported in part by an award from the Michigan Arts and Culture Council. Today's webinar again is Celebrating and Preserving Hispanic and Latino Heritage in Southwest Detroit. We're happy to have our presenters with us today, and they are Myrna Segura, Southwest Detroit Business Association Director of Programs and the Mexican Main Street Director. Raymond Losano, Executive Director of Mexicantown Community Development Corporation and co-chair of our Mexicantown Main Street Advisory Board. Gloria Rosas Bayaco, owner of Zoshi's Gift Shop and member of the Mexicantown Main Street Advisory Board and chair of the Promotion Committee. Greg Mannion, Southwest Detroit Business Association Real Estate Advocate, and Tanya Saldivar Ali, with AGI Construction LLC, Business Development Director, Mexicantown Vitality Committee member. And Myrna, if you'd like to share your screen, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It is a pleasure for us to be here today and have a conversation about how the work that we do celebrates and preserves Hispanic, Latino heritage in Mexicantown and Southwest Detroit. All the presenters today are members of our Mexicantown Harbor Communities Main Street program. As you heard, we have Ray Losano, Gloria Rosas Bayaco, Tanya Saldivar Ali, Greg Manga as well. It is a really honor to have them being part of this webinar and talk to you about their different projects, community work, and goals as stakeholders of the Mexicantown Southwest Detroit community. They all are strong community leaders who have contributed to the sense of place and cultural identity that has been created by our immigrant, local businesses, and the community we and they serve. In 2018, we were designated a Michigan Main Street program by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Since then, our Mexicantown Harbor Communities Main Street program, in collaboration with local businesses, residents, and other community stakeholders, is implementing an inclusive commercial district economic development program to strengthen, market, and promote the Mexicantown Business District, its businesses, its community, and its cultural traditions. Mexicantown today is known for its good food, rich culture, public art, and wonderful people. Mexicantown also has the greatest concentration of Mexican restaurants and businesses in the state of Michigan. We also have a large selection of supermarkets, bakeries, and restaurants that offer ethnic and international products and food. Our Mexicantown Business District has always played a role in bringing the community together with events and activities designed to enhance the quality of life for the residents and serve as an economic boost for businesses. Our community's priority is to become stronger and remain focused on its future while honoring its past and its legacy, businesses, and traditions. By continuing to engage our community stakeholders in the revitalization process and by effectively working as a team on a unified vision for success, we will continue the preservation work of our beloved Mexicantown and Southwest Detroit. Our program's goals are to enhance the physical environment to reflect a celebration of Mexicantown's history, to promote Mexicantown as a welcoming, friendly, inclusive, and respectful community for residents and visitors alike, to create economic policies and practices that are equitable and reflective of Mexicantown's community values. Thank you. I wanted to show these also slides about Southwest Detroit and Mexicantown. Southwest Detroit is a large area in Detroit where most of the Hispanic community lives. We have a business improvement district, and that runs from Woodmere to Clark on West Vernor, and also on Spring Wells from Vernor to I-75. We will be concentrating today in the Mexicantown Main Street Business District. This is one of our business, the Mexicantown Village, and you can see also the business corridor on Bagley Avenue. We also have Agua Especial Market. The Mexicantown Harbor Communities, the Main Street Business District runs from Clark Avenue to 18/Newark Street, that is on West Vernor, and on Bagley Avenue from 24th Street to 16th Street. The Mexicantown Hispanic Latino population in the area is 70%. We have 40 businesses plus, and 60% of those businesses are Hispanic and Latino. So I will now give it back to Chris. So he's going to introduce Ray Losano again.
Thank you, Ray. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Myrna. Thanks for the opportunity to be part of this panel today. And very quickly, since we're talking preservation and history and heritage, I just wanted to mention that Hispanic Heritage Month wouldn't be here without the origin story. It really traces its roots back to after World War II, when Black and brown soldiers were unable to be buried in Texas graveyards. The political forces at that time began to support the Latino population politically and socially. And so President Lyndon Johnson in '68 started Hispanic Heritage 2 weeks. And in 1988, President Ronald Reagan established it officially as a Hispanic Heritage Month. But I wanted to mention that backstory since it's important for its beginnings. If we're talking about Detroit and Mexicantown, we've got documentation that the first Mexican came at about 1895. And a lot of its growth actually happened during the 1920s. A lot of folks, not only Mexicans, but people from other countries and islands came here. But the Mexican Revolution happened during 1910 to 1920. And a lot of folks fled Mexico at that point to take up the migrant population. And in fact, if you look at Michigan, Michigan is the third largest trading partner after Texas and California, and it's due a lot to the migrant population, the crops, stemming from the South and the West all the way up to the UP. And so have done the crops, the migrant route, and the automotive industry. If you look at what we used to have here during the prosperous automotive years, we had GM and Cadillac and Ford in the neighborhood. So the three zip codes that are commonly known as Southwest Detroit, Mexicantown, were the only three zip codes that continued to add population for the city of Detroit up to today. And actually, back in the 2000s was the community that kept Detroit over 1 million residents for quite a while. If you look at the population, my own family came that route. That's why I can testify that it was actually the thing that a lot of folks did, and they preferred to keep their roots here in Detroit at that time, since the population was growing normally from a very diverse population in the city, and the Latino population happened to make a lot of Southwest Detroit and Corktown its home. I want to pivot over to our own area here as part of one of the stakeholders in the Mexicantown Main Street. If you look at our buildings, we've got a development that happened back in 2007. It was a result of trying to do development as a result of our own black bottom experience when the expressways cut through the Southwest Detroit neighborhood back in the mid-60s. And so our development was going to become an anchor and do entrepreneurial training and allow for reasonable commercial space to be used for businesses and organizations. We have about 30,000 square feet of commercial and Class A office space. And, the attempt was to provide not only an anchor, but to develop businesses and populate the Main Street area, if you will, further east towards downtown. The sad thing that happened is that this was built in 2007, and so shortly thereafter the economy tanked, and our mission has changed as a result of over the year. One of the things I just want to mention is that the Mercado is also a design award recipient of the AIA Chicago. And so it is our buildings, our campus are about 80% occupied and doing well, and looking forward to becoming more of a destination in light of the Ford train station development. Myrna, am I on target here?
You want to talk about the Mexicantown Latin Galleria y Cafe?
Sure thing. We've been fortunate to get a Kresge funding to develop our own project in our own building. And what we're going to be doing is that we hopefully this fall will be able to open a cafe and a gallery, an art gallery. We've already been able to host some art exhibits during Mexican Independence celebration, which took place last weekend. And we hope that this fall it'll be a vibrant destination for folks. If you look, there's kind of an absence of coffee shops in the area, and our art gallery is going to focus primarily on emerging and established Latino artists, but we'll branch out to Southwest Detroit art and hopefully become a regular art institution for the community.
Ray, how was the design for the Galleria and Cafe selected? What was the process?
Yeah, as part of the requirement, we held 4 community meetings to get the mood boards and the uses and the design. And we were fortunate to have, well-attended meetings and with lots of input. And so as you look at the design here, it's going to have a definite Latino flavor. We're also been fortunate to get a couple of grants that we're going to be able to do our own barista training program. So we'll open it up to folks in the Ford catchment area, in the immediate neighborhoods, to train the baristas that not only, there be no commitment, but we'll actually be able to train these folks, and they can travel anywhere once they know how to pour coffee and make those neat drinks and designs. So we're really looking forward to this fall to be able to begin that.
Thank you, Ray. Can you also let us know how the community decided to call the business district Mexicantown and why?
Yeah, this is, Myrna, the only business district, as I understand, the only Mexican town in the country. And so it's always been labeled La Colonia Mexicana, the Mexican colony, and it slowly became Mexicantown. It kind of is a misnomer, since we've got representation from not only Mexico, but Puerto Rico, and we have a very diverse Latin population. And one of the things that we're trying to do also is that we don't look at our real roots. And so I've been fortunate to have a good friend, Ozzy Rivera, who works with me to do workshops to show our Afro-Latin roots. If you look at the slave trade was only about 2 to 4% in North America here. But the bulk of the slave trade took place in Latin America, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And so our roots are actually very African-centered if you scratch beneath the surface. So it's one of the things that we want to show, our similarities, not our differences.
Thank you, Ray. We do have a question for you. Let me see if we can, you can answer to that right now because of the time. Yes, we're gonna wait and answer those questions at the end of the presentations. Okay, so next we're gonna go with Gloria Rosas Bayoco, owner of Xochitl's Gift Shop.
Hi, everyone. I wish I could see myself so I could. There we go. Okay. So yes, my name is Gloria Rosas Bayoco. I am co-owner of Xochitl's Gift Shop along with my mom, Gloria Rosas, who started Xochitl's Gift Shop back in 1985 with my dad, Herman Rosas. So I think my parents' story, even though Xochitl's is very unique, it's a Mexican import shop. We're direct importers of Mexican handcrafts. We travel directly to Mexico, work with artisans in Mexico, and import those products here, bringing their products to new markets. Even though that's very unique, I think their story is common. My mom and dad were looking for the side hustle. How can they bring more money into their family? And because they both had jobs, they were both professionals. They had, it's not, they were looking for the side hustle. So Xochitl's presented itself as an opportunity. Actually, Xochitl's had already been opened by a now restaurant owner, but it had a very short-lived life with them, and it was on the market. And my mom and dad, having retail experience in Mexico, decided to open Xochitl's Gift Shop, to buy it and open it up. And what is also similar with immigrants is that, we come from a culture where industry is really not available. We come from a culture where you make a living by what can you produce, what can you make, what can you sell, what can you do with the two hands that God blessed you with. And, that was where they came from. They came from a place of what can we do, what can we produce, what can we sell. And that's how Xochitl started. It started by importing goods from when we would visit Mexico, and my mom manufacturing goods, piñatas. We had a small little piñata making factory in the back of the back part of the store. And we would make the paper flowers that we still do to this day in-house at Xochitl. So it comes from a place of what can you do? What can you make? And how can you grow with it? So the other thing that my parents took advantage with Sochi's, and I think it was their vision, was that they would be able to teach their kids about their culture. Because as immigrants, you come to this country and you start losing your culture. You start losing all the things that you do, all the holidays that are celebrated there, all the, the ways that common holidays like Christmas are celebrated. Everything changes, especially, back at their time, there was limited amount of food, that we had 2 grocery stores, Honeybee and E&L. And now you could find all these groceries, Myers and Kroger's, and everyone has a line. But back then, you would lose all these things if you didn't keep them active. So my parents saw the opportunity for their kids to know more about their culture and grow in their culture. And then that spread out to the community as well. It was not just for their kids, but they would be able to share their culture with the community abroad. And they did that since day one. We opened up in May of '85, and being May, Cinco de Mayo was there. And my mom, with her network of friends, some who were involved with Girl Scouts, had a Cinco de Mayo celebration on Bagley and invited the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan. And, I was only 8 years old at the time, but I remember it very vividly. It was, a beautiful event that went on for many years. And it was a chance to educate the Girl Scouts and other student groups that come to Sochi's about what it is that we, what is it that we have in our store? Because you really need to educate people about the things that you have in order for them to embrace it. Nowadays, most of you are familiar with Day of the Dead, especially after Disney's movie of Coco. Everybody knows something about Day of the Dead, but short time ago that wasn't the case, and people come to the store and what are these skeletons? What is this all about? This is kind of weird. So you really need to enlighten people and educate them and let them know what is it, where does it come from, why is it important, because the only way that we can embrace our diversity and and grow from one another is to have knowledge of that. So you need to come from a place of sharing and knowing and, teaching what it is that you're there. We love that. We love the opportunity to do that. Like I said, we have student field come to Mexicantown. We have students that come from all Southeast Michigan, further away, Midland, a little bit further than you would think. And we're surprised every time we see a student group come further and further. And they come usually around Cinco de Mayo, or they might come around Day of the Dead or the end of the school year when, the teachers are wrapping up their field trips. So we really have appreciated that teachers are coming out for that experience to not just have a Spanish class and learn how to say hola, but what is the culture behind it? Who speaks these languages? What do they celebrate? How do they celebrate? What are the things that, are common to us? What are the things that are different? So we have really appreciated the opportunity to be able to do that. It's really lended itself for us to grow in that aspect. For many years now, we have a presentation of Day of the Dead where our store transforms a little bit into ofrendas, and we set up several of them. Actually, we set up our favorite, our family ofrenda, where we take time to honor our loved ones, because if you're not familiar with Day of the Dead, more than anything, it's a Memorial Day. So we have other ones that are welcoming the community to participate, and we also have an indigenous one where we could educate the roots of Day of the Dead. But a couple of years ago with COVID, we weren't going to have those field trips. We weren't going to have those kids, and so we took the opportunity to tape it. We got a videographer, and me and my mom sat down and explained it and made it virtual, because even though we weren't going to have those customers come into our door, it was still really important for us that the culture and the story and the traditions and the visitations continue. So, you know, we have been very purposeful about carrying on these traditions and being, you know, driven by education. The other thing that, you know, drives our passion is bringing those goods here to market. Like I said, we go directly down to Mexico. We go, well, Jara, and the surroundings, which include Tonalá, Tlaquepaque. We go to Mexico City. We go to Tasco, Guanajuato, Guerrero. I went to Oaxaca this year for the first time. And so we really pound the pavement. It is not an easy job. And a lot of people think that, oh, it must be the funnest. Yes, we have fun, but it is really very labor intensive, because Mexico's market is, it's, you know, mom and pop. It's going to markets. It's going to small craft stores, not even stores, markets, you know, trade places. And we are able to, you know, give those artisans a market, you know, help them with the development of their goods, and provide them, you know, more accessibility to new clients, and also to bring that back home, you know, bring all of that to share with people. There's, you know, some goods that we know that we're going to sell that are, you know, price point, highly sought after, a mariachi hat, a blanket, you know, pottery, you know, for example. And then there's other goods that are a little bit higher end, that are more of, you know, a finer art and a finer craft. And we know that that might not sell right away. Hopefully it will one day, but we know that we're bringing that specifically to share it. We want people to see this artwork. We want people to see this craft. We want people to see, you know, all the rich culture that Mexico has to offer. So we've been really fortunate to be able to do just that. Anything else you want me to talk about, Mirna? I'm sorry. I think you're muted, Mirna. Mirna, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself because something happened here. So now, Gloria, I just want you to share with the attendees why it's so important for you, the work that you do, how you collaborate with other agencies like the DIA, like Mexicantown CDC, like us, and how do you advocate for businesses in order to strengthen the Mexicantown business district, but also the cultural traditions. You also partner with Plaza del Sol for the Day of the Dead festivities, and you have organized Las Posadas during the Southwest Holiday Fest. So you really are very involved in promoting the cultural traditions of the Mexicantown Main Street in the community.
Yes, thank you, Mirna. And let me just say a little bit something about Mexicantown. Mexicantown is a neighborhood within a neighborhood, you know. Southwest Detroit expands, you know, Mexicantown and the businesses that it represents expands way into Southwest Detroit. For reasons of focus and targeting and promoting, you know, we had to narrow in on a section. But if you come and visit, you know that it is a neighborhood within a neighborhood. Having said that, yeah, well, I will take any opportunity I can get to collaborate and to share. I was invited over to Marathon to help them set up an ofrenda, and you know, last year was her first one, and she set it up again this year, and it's growing, and people are knowing more about it and bringing pictures of their loved ones and contributing to that ofrenda that, you know, a corporation has set up for their employees, and for their employees to be able to express themselves, whether they're Hispanic or not. As long as they are understanding and knowing what it's all about, then they are, you know, they're participating, and that's welcoming. So yeah, the DIA was sought representation from the community and partnered up with SDBA, Southwest Business Association, and yes, we helped participate in their ofrenda displays. And like I said, yeah, we'll take any opportunity to collaborate and to share that. Yes, the Posadas, I was really, we did the posadas for many years before the partnership with other businesses to call it Southwest Holiday Fest. So we wanted to show how we celebrate Christmas in Mexico. And if you're ever fortunate enough to celebrate Christmas in Mexico, it carries on for many, many days, not just the 24th and 25th. It's the 12 days leading up to Christmas that there's a party held in every house. And every night, the people gather and go from place to place seeking shelter. It's a reenactment of the pilgrimage of Mary and Joseph. But, I took that to our neighbors and said, hey, let's recreate the songs and let's recreate the pilgrimage. And, we'll just come to each other's neighbor businesses and show people what it's like in Mexico when we go from house to house. And my neighbors, embraced the idea, and that's what we've done. We've showed the community, how we do it there, and it's been a beautiful celebration. I, get my kids and dress them up like Mary and Joseph, and one year we've had a live donkey, and we, just really have fun with it, because it's not always about selling the Christmas ornaments. Sometimes it's showing them how the Christmas is celebrated that is important to us.
Thank you very much, Gloria.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Our next presenter is Greg Manga, our real estate advocate for Southwest Detroit Business Association. Go ahead, Greg.
Thanks, Myrna. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Myrna said, my name is Greg Manga. I'm with the Southwest Detroit Business Association, and I work here as a colleague of Myrna as the real estate advocate here at SDBA. I'm here to talk about our development of La Jolla Gardens, which is a mixed-use, mixed-income housing development that we are undertaking this fall. It's been about 4.5 years in the works. SDBA partnered with a nonprofit affordable housing developer, Scenario Solutions, on this project. It was in response to a request for proposals from the city of Detroit and a CDFI in our city called Invest Detroit, which had acquired some parcels along with city-owned parcels on this block of West Verner between Palms and Hubbard, which is an entire block shown here. So this will be approximately, it's just over 0.8 acres. It will have 53 housing units, 42 which will be affordable housing between 30% average median income and 80% AMI, with 11 market rate units built within it. It's being funded through 4% taxable or tax exempt bonds and 9% low income housing tax credits. There will be about 6,000 square feet of commercial space on the first floor, along with a community center and a cafe in the middle. That will be what we're calling the jewel box. So that will be about 1,500 square foot community space that's open to the public. That will also include a cafe within it. That'll be operated by a local coffee shop here in Southwest Detroit. The other commercial spaces will be curated by SDBA and Scenario. We are looking to develop essentially a retail pop-up space for Southwest Detroit-based businesses to explore opportunities with brick and mortar spaces and share those spaces. There's been some success with that in other parts of the city of Detroit without having to commit to long-term or expensive leases. It will be a shared space that can be operated for home-based businesses, online businesses, or businesses that are new and entrepreneurs that are trying to test out their goods and products. So this, like I said, has been about 4.5 years in the making. There's a lot of financing challenges with it, as we've seen rising construction costs. And we also have been dealing with increasing interest rates and the availability of funding and gap opportunities to fill those financing gaps as they have arisen over the last about 3 years. We were awarded the tax credits in October of 2019 through the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. So this is also within the historic district, the Hubbard Farms Historic District. It's on a traditional Main Street overlay on West Verner. So it did have to get approval through the Historic District Commission at the City of Detroit. It also had to get a few Board of Zoning Appeals variances for its height. It's about 44 feet tall in the rear. We did have extensive community engagement on the massing, which a lot of the residents preferred this massing style with a little bit of the higher stories set back from the commercial spaces, and the plazas to be on each side of the community center, which you see in the middle there with the colorful jewel box that will be in between the commercial spaces. So instead of having one large plaza space, because this is just kitty corner from Clark Park, the residents felt that having kind of smaller, more intimate plaza spaces that will be open to the public and could be utilized by the commercial spaces were more appropriate. And the design firm, our architects, Sitio, which is a design firm out of Philadelphia, and the principal owner of it is founded by a Puerto Rican firm. And we also had a local architecture firm, 511 Design, owned by a Mexican-American design firm that was the principal community engagement coordinator with SDBA. It was La Jolla Gardens was named by a resident of the community. We actually had a naming contest and received approximately 500 different submissions for the name. So La Jolla being the jewel, and being the kind of the jewel of, we hope, of the neighborhood, a place for people to gather, a place for people to live, a place for people to meet with friends and to utilize the retail and commercial opportunities that this development will hopefully afford. Last but not least, this was funded by something within the Strategic Neighborhood Fund, which Southwest Detroit and Mexicantown was one of the 3 original Strategic Neighborhood Fund areas within the city of Detroit. There's now a total of 10 SNF areas. So part of the funding, the SNF is administered through Invest Detroit, which is a CDFI. And this will be the 3rd development, which will break ground within Mexicantown. The first was the Murray, which was a set of historic row houses that were converted and rehabbed just across from Western International High School. The second development, which just broke ground last week, was the Brook at Bagley, which is on Bagley and 16th Street, across from Honeybee Market, which is 78 housing units, some affordable units within it, and first floor ground retail. And then La Jolla Gardens, which we anticipate breaking ground on in late October, early November. And Mirna, did you also want me to talk about, we did do extensive retail and community engagement around this. We still have an existing retail engagement strategy and survey where we received over 500 responses from the community about what they'd like to see within those commercial spaces, how they want them to look, to feel, so they're welcoming and inviting. And prior to even being awarded tax credits, we had about a half dozen community engagement meetings, both in person and online. Most of them occurred before COVID, so they took place at spaces that are welcoming to the community, like First Latin Baptist Church, Losano, and other SDBA buildings and facilities that we own and operate. All of them were held with bilingual resources. They were both given bilingually with bilingual literature. We wanted to make sure that regardless of people's first language, or if they weren't bilingual and Spanish was their only language that they spoke, that they would be felt as welcome and as engaged as any other resident, and were able to partake in all of these community engagement efforts. So we made sure all the literature that went out is bilingual, all of our engagements were bilingual, and we're proud that this engagement was inclusive and hopefully reached as many residents within the Southwest community as possible.
Greg, can you also talk about how we were able to help the Brook on Bagley project to do the community engagement that was necessary in order to get the feedback from community members?
So Mirna and I and the developers of the Brook at Bagley, which is Woodbourne Partners, it's an African-American owned development firm that has teamed with Broder and Sasky, a larger development firm. engaged with Congress of Communities, which is a nonprofit community engagement, which centers around a lot of youth engagement in the Southwest Detroit community. We engage with them to do these retail engagement efforts for both La Jolla Gardens and the Brook at Bagley, to find out what the residents would like to see within these commercial development portions of the building. So we're currently just wrapping up that engagement. We'll be putting out the results of it in October. But Congress of Communities is very tied in with the community. So they would go door to door. They're multilingual as well. They would attend events like Cinco de Mayo. They would attend other events throughout the summer, but also do door-to-door resident engagement surveys, both in person, and people were able to submit them digitally or electronically if they wish as well.
Many thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So our next presenter is Tanya Saldivar Ali. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you, Myrna. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tanya Saldivar Ali, co-founder of AGI Construction, and we are a husband-wife team located in Southwest Detroit. We were both born and raised in Southwest Detroit, so this is our community that we love dearly. And so we've done everything. We started in investment properties, property management, residential, commercial, to today, which is project managing, working very closely with schools, churches, nonprofits, and small business owners. Over the last several years, we've experienced a lot of barriers and challenges as a minority general contracting firm in Detroit, amidst a lot of the rapid development that's happening. And so from those experiences, really kind of birthed out a project that we're currently launching right now, which is called the Design Build Green Hub. Which was an initiative that started about 3 years ago, where we got a piece of property that we were very lucky to be able to secure, which is about 4 blocks from the Michigan train station. And I'm sure there was probably previous discussion to all of the development that's happening in the area that's changing rapidly, the culture of our neighborhood, district lines, the opportunities, the residents in terms of how they're feeling about the development that's happening around them. And so with that, instead of kind of continuing to hit the challenges and the barriers, we decided to come up with solutions to address it. So we started engaging the residents around how did they feel about us as a business moving into the center of a community to work on a community hub. And the hub would build capacity for other minority contractors in order to be able to engage in a lot of the development that's happening around in the neighborhood. And so out of a 3-year process, basically what we ended up with is this first floor think tank space kind of area where we would also engage the residents as well as the contractors. And so we got a lot of stories and different things that came out of that. And part of the sustainability efforts is sustaining the neighborhood culture as it is. And so preserving neighborhood culture amidst of all the rapid development that's happening also became kind of a core value of kind of what we were building. Other projects we've worked on have a lot of green aspects in it, but what we also found that those trends and that construction is very, very expensive. And so we started exploring around what could we do out of this hub that would be affordable for other Detroiters to look at to save energy and looking at infrastructure. So one of the pieces that I'll touch on that Myrna has up right now is we've teamed up with Hemp and Matthews, which is an engineering firm, along with another organization called Citizens Robotics, where they're exploring 3D construction printing for housing. And we collaboratively designed a residential green stormwater management system, smaller, right, for residential, along with some permeable pavers. The thought process behind that is exploring how could we share this practice with other people, but going beyond just our own residential or our own property, like how could we share these resources to benefit the rest of the neighborhood. So there's a park, we sit on a corner lot, there's a park right across the street, thinking about recycling water for that, also looking at activating the alley in the back with some other creative ideas. We've explored solar panels. The siding on the house is actually a hardy board. But the other part of this project is there's a hands-on cohort pilot group that we're doing with local contractors. So all the work that we're doing on the property is sourced through local contractors. And so thinking about a local pipeline is critical in terms of promoting local economies, right? And so creating opportunities for people was key for us in terms of the project. And out of that cohort pilot, the last 6 months, a lot of the smaller contractors have been exploring some other growth opportunities, have been able to mentor and shadow under some of the older contractors, everything from carpentry to the siding to excavating to exploring also these ideas around the green building and green stormwater management practices.
Tanya, why it is important for you to be supporting the businesses in Southwest Detroit and Mexicantown with the work that you do for small businesses?
Yeah, so we chose to prioritize the projects we do because a lot of the small business owners and also the nonprofits in the area, you know, they don't have a lot of funds. And so being able to build with local pipelines, we're able to get a lot more things done at cost. But also, you know, it's fair because it's equitable, right? Like people that live in this neighborhood that are here need to be part of the building process. The other part of it that's really key for us is helping people hold on to their properties because we know that land and properties really is the key to building long-term wealth. And so if we can't help people hold on to what they have, then they'll lose the very thing that will help them break poverty, right? So by helping them build up their storefronts or be able to hold on to their properties or providing opportunities, direct opportunities and wages for local Detroiters is key in terms of long-term sustainability that really is inclusive when we talk about building the city at large.
Thank you, Tanya. So I think that next we are going to go to the Q&A section.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We have a few questions from our audience. Myrna, the first one is for you because Mexicantown is one of the neighborhoods of Detroit that's continuing to grow. What are the development pressures that you are feeling, such as cultural cohesion, amounts of density, and how have you been able to continue finding leadership for what you're doing in the neighborhood?
I will say that question is for all of us, and I will ask Greg to answer that question, and then maybe I can add
Sure.
to it because he's doing the real estate development.
Thanks, Myrna. Yeah, you know, we definitely feel that pressure from, you know, the Ford train station development and subsequent rising rents that have been happening in Corktown, been moving down into Hubbard Farms to Mexicantown. You know, it's great for homeowners and property owners where they're finally building equity in their property, whether it's a home or commercial or mixed use property that perhaps maybe they weren't getting over the last few decades, you know, that had happened through depopulation, through abandonment and blight issues that and demolition, frankly. Now they have an opportunity to build that equity, create intergenerational wealth, but it does put on a lot of pressure for renters, both people that are renting apartments or renting homes and people that are renting retail space. You know, we see with the rising rents, you know, the need to develop more affordable housing, and something else we're doing beside the La Jolla Gardens project is a project to redevelop second floor spaces above the commercial spaces. We received some ARPA funding this quarter to develop 24 second floor apartments above the first floor commercial spaces. We previously did about 12 of those a few years ago through a Kresge grant, the same grant that Ray was able to utilize for their cafe space. We developed 12 apartment units above those first floor commercial spaces. But we also see a lot of speculation, amongst property owners as the train station comes in. People start seeing dollar signs and an ability to almost use their buildings as lottery tickets and to push prices upward or have very exorbitant asking prices for those properties. So that has been a challenge as those properties sit vacant and are continuing to ask for above market rate prices while they continue to sit vacant and deteriorate. At that time, we need to find a kind of an equilibrium between redevelopment, which we are welcome and we want to have infill dense, beautiful neighborhoods that are growing for this communities and ones that they can thrive in, but also not be able to withstand those pressures that may push people out due to the rising costs.
Yes. And
Thank you, Greg.
Go ahead, Chris.
The next question we have is for Gloria. You stayed in the neighborhood after growing up there, and this person loves your shop, but she considers you unusual, and she wants to know how many children of immigrants find that they have opportunities to stay in Mexicantown or in the Detroit area.
Hi, thanks. That's a great question. My parents did move out of Southwest Detroit in late 90s. We have maintained our store there. My mom has worked in nonprofit groups up until 2 years ago, and she still is on standby many times. And my dad, rest in peace, was very involved in the community as well. But that is something that hits a nail on the head, whether it be in business or it be, we always hear people talk about keep our kids in Michigan, keep our kids, after they graduate. Well, it's the same thing. Our kids need to see themselves in the businesses. So that's why representation is very important in all aspects of business, whether it be as business owners, developers, business association members. They need to see that there is a place for them at the table. So by being a Hispanic woman business owner, other kids in the neighborhood could see that this is something they could do. Maybe not a gift shop, but they could take over their parents' business. They could start their own business. This is something that is attainable for them. And that's why representation is very important in all levels, not just business owners, but, education and government.
Thank you, Gloria. The next question comes from Janet Krieger, and she's commenting on the Main Street program. It's been very useful, apparently, in Mexicantown, and she wants to dive into that a little further. How is it helpful to you? And I think probably to Myrna, but mostly I would say all of the panelists might be able to answer this.
Yes, I would prefer that the panelists answer that question, Ray, Gloria, or Tanya, who are located in Mexicantown. And we know how the program has benefited the community because we have been getting more visibility thanks to it. We were a little concerned because of gentrification, and we wanted to strengthen the Mexicantown name. We wanted to strengthen the Latino, Hispanic businesses and honor them, the ones that have been there for 50, 75 years. We want to make sure that new businesses and new people coming into Mexicantown, the Haber Farms, the Haber Rasha residential areas, that they knew the history of Mexicantown and the work that has been done and the people that has been there for years. So that will be what, as a community as a whole, I think we have been receiving because of the Mexicantown Main Street program, the designation, along with the credibility. We have been partnering with the city of Detroit for our Mexicantown and Gateway signage project. We are also in conversations with the City of Detroit General Services Department for the Joe Louis Greenway coming through Mexicantown. So we have done a lot of engagement we have created this platform for the community, the businesses, the residents to provide feedback regarding the many projects and developments that are taking place in the area. But I would like to hear from Gloria, Tanya, or Ray, about how they think this has benefited them as a business and as individuals.
Yeah,
Ray, you want to say something, or Gloria?
Just to, since we were part of the creation of it, I mean, it's a reciprocal kind of a relationship. What we all put into it, we benefit from it. Main streets were created in smaller towns to, make sure that the business community lives on in spite of the big box stores that were moving into all the communities. And, it's the lifeblood of the community. And so what you put into it, hopefully comes back to, the fact that we've been creating events and promoting the businesses. And one of the things I'd mention is that between September 30th and October 9th, we're going to have Southwest Detroit Restaurant Week. And I know that's not part of the Main Street designated area, but it's part of the effort where people are trying to drum up support for businesses and get people out of their comfort zones and try new things. And so, the concept of a Main Street benefits everybody if everybody participates.
Myrna, can I add
Now
to
we're
that?
running close. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to add in terms of just echoing with Ray in terms of the Main Street brings additional resources and visibility from the outside. But one of the things that I just want to stress in terms of Southwest Detroit and a lot of these smaller communities that have a very strong immigrant population is that we've always had a strong corridor. And it really has been the pillar of this community and has been based off of a lot of hard work that a lot of small businesses owners have, held down from a lot of years of disinvestment. And so I think with some of the benefits of the mainstream or a lot of the other resources that are coming into the community now, and somebody had asked me a question on the chat, local pipelines and supporting the people that have been here for decades is critical in making sure that these resources are also being handed down to the people that have been really a core part of pillars of why this community still stands the way that it is. So I just wanted to stress that.
Thank you so much, panelists. We're running up against the end of our time here. I appreciate everyone that has participated, and I want to thank all of our panelists. At this time, we usually announce what next month's webinar is going to be, and that'll be on October 13th next month. And the topic is the State Historic Preservation Review Board, Partners in the Preservation Program. And that will end our webinar for today. Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate it. And if you have an opportunity, join us at mhpn.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Myrna. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Have a great day.